Well, we're back again today at the Brave Plug, and we are so excited because we are joined by beautiful Fortuin women today.
Yes.
None other than Sister Jubeidah and Minister Savana. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us, and you look so beautiful in your white today.
Like angels.
Thank you for having us, ladies. We are so honored to be here, and I'm so honored to be sitting here with Mom.
Yes.
Thank you, yes. And I'm also so honored to be sitting next to my daughter.
Yeah.
And thanks for having us.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're excited to have you guys here with us today, especially on a topic of women in education. So I think to start, if we could just talk about your backgrounds and how you guys got into education. Savs, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I've always had a love for kids, but growing up, people always said to me that teachers don't earn a lot.
But they get the holidays.
We get the holidays, right?
Yeah.
But when you're young, all you're thinking about is money.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up running away from teaching for as long as I could.
Sure, okay.
And I started to study BCom, and after the first year, I realized this wasn't for me. And the second year after I was done with matric, I decided, let me join Bible school and let me figure out what it is that I want with my life. And during that time, I started working at a church, and the church had a school, and I started volunteering at the school, and I realized I really enjoy working with the kids, and I love being around them, and it's just so fulfilling, and it's so much of fun. And that's how my love for teaching grew. And now, 12 years later,
Yeah.
still love teaching. The kids are still funny, and I'm still enjoying it very much.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
My journey started straight after school, so I went to university to study teaching. But then I had our son Wasim, so then I left teaching. And when he was 2 years old, I went back full-time to college, yes. And then I just felt it had always been like a calling for me.
Yeah.
So completed my studies, and then I went to teach. So I was teaching for about 7 years at a school here in Brakpan. And then I left teaching and I went into the corporate sector to do adult teaching. So then in the training field. But then God called me back into teaching, on an international level. But even now, when I was reflecting back, when this journey's finished overseas, will I come back and teach? And I was chewing on this idea, and I thought, it would be easy for me to come back still into teaching, because I feel it's like a calling. I think I've developed more of a love for teaching. The more I teach children, the more I love teaching. Sure. I know it doesn't make sense, but
No, it makes sense.
like where I'm sitting now, I'm like missing the kids.
Wow. Sure. And so what have been some of your highlights in your teaching journey? You both have together amazing experiences, but I guess in your own individual journeys, what have been some of the highlights and some of the lessons learned as well?
For me, the highlights is always seeing the kids achieve, because they come to you and it's almost as if you have to refine them and polish them, and you with them every single day. So you see the mistakes they make, you see the character, you see all the negatives, and when it's like awards evenings or prize givings, or anything like that, you then see the student that you've put so much of effort into, and there you see them taking their award, but at the back of your mind, you're also so proud of them, but you also feel like it's a sense of accomplishment for you as well.
Yes.
Because you understand how much of heart you've put into that child. So that's the highlight. And I think another highlight is that with the kids, there's just never a dull day. As teachers, we can just sit and talk about the kids all day long. And when I married Wasi, that's all all I would do is just come home and tell him so many stories.
All the
And
spice.
And the one day he said to me, Sebs, do you know you don't have to tell me everything that happens at school? But he wasn't being rude. But then I actually realized how much I actually share, because there's just so much that happens in a day. And those are the highlights. I think some of the low lights is also when the kids don't do well. You know, you also go every single day to work. You teach your heart out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be so disappointing, you know, when the kids don't necessarily listen or they act up. But then you just have to forgive them and motivate them to do better.
Yeah, exactly.
And try again and teach again.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that.
I think I can also echo quite a few of the key points that Savannah mentioned. I think also some of my highlights are actually, I'm a talker. So I'm a talker and I love to make jokes. I like to make it fun for the students.
Yeah.
And so some of the highlights are when I actually walk into class and I see that the students have taken on my personality. Because they do that. Also, like, when you have some students who are really have got some learning disabilities, and when you know that effort you're putting in, like creating different or specific activities for them to cater for them, and when they actually overcome that challenge. And I had one student specifically now this last academic year who had absolutely no confidence, who was. And because of her low confidence, she really had a bit of a challenge in achieving. But then I just used to boost her. I made her the group leader. And then this student just started to blossom. Sure. She did so well that she started to be the coach in the group.
Oh, wow.
So, I think it's just... those are the highlights, and then obviously some of the higher ability students, when they can literally teach you a lesson, honestly, and when they correct you. You make a mistake and they correct you. So those are really the highlights. But I think also at the end of the day, before they leave, they write you a letter.
Oh, cute.
And they just tell you you've been like a mother to them, and they love you so much. And
That's so
they come. I think
Yeah.
some of the really highlights for me this year was my students from last year and the year before, and even some students that are now in high school. They pass my class, they come in and they hug me. They miss me. I must come teach them. Yeah.
So cute.
I think some of the challenges are just always thinking as a teacher, what different techniques can I use for certain students?
Yeah.
And just trying to continuously being updated on new ways and
New
strategies
skills,
and skills to assist them.
Awesome. Yeah, well, it makes me feel like I want to go back to school now. So I guess you guys are with the younger generation, which is an important generation now. So how do you become role models to the younger generation?
So I think every child that knows me knows that I love Jesus.
Yes.
And for me, I have a whole lot of scriptures on my wall. And recently, I feel like God has just been speaking to me around sharing more about Him with the kids, And so I started discipleship with the kids. So on a Tuesday, I meet with the girls, and there's about 30 of them. And then on a Thursday, I meet with the boys. And last week, Thursday, one of the boys was praying. And as he was praying, he's reciting all of these scriptures as he's praying. And then I'm like, but this sounds so familiar. Where is he getting this from?
Yeah.
But then I realized he sits there in class and he reads all these scriptures that are on my wall.
Yeah.
And he's taking all of those things in. And for me, it's like, that is what I would want the kids to see in me. It's not who I am. It's Jesus in me, that makes the difference.
Yes.
And if that's the only thing that they take away, I'm fine
You
with
find
that.
that, yeah.
But in terms of just being a role model to them, you've got to be patient, you've got to be kind, you know, you've got to try your best to be nice, because teaching can honestly become very overwhelming at times. And sometimes you feel like they're all coming to you and bombarding you with questions.
Yeah.
And you've got to really try to manage your emotions at work. You've got to really try to be level-headed and be understanding about them and accommodating towards them. So I think I'm trying to do the best that I can with them.
Wow, that's so beautiful. Yeah.
I think for me, role modeling, because it's very difficult where I am. So for me, it's just role modeling a respectful behavior, integrity, consistency. I always remind them about, so I would say, if there's any behavior that they're displaying, I would ask them, if your dad was sitting in the chair, would you do it?
Yeah.
And, they would sit and reflect on it. No, miss. Then I'm like, yes, so should you be doing it? If your mother was here, would you say that? No, miss. So I think role modeling is more who we are, what we say to them. And one important thing that I realize with my students is acknowledging them, because that's how I role model even self-worth, for example. Because sometimes they are shy, there's maybe not, they feel they're not being seen, But so like I try by day 3 of the new academic year, by day 3, I know every student's name. And I greet them on their name.
Yeah.
And, so I think I try to role model that I see you. Yes. And that's how they should see each other as well,
And themselves.
And so we should respect each other. So, and I always say to them, when one person speaks, for example, it might not be me, it might be another student, we are all going to be quiet and respectful and listen, So I think consistency also.
Can I add on to what Mommy's saying as well?
do.
So I have a clock up in my class and it says you matter. So the clock is the O.
Oh, nice.
And then I have all of their pictures up. And so I know every child and what they want to be when they grow up. So the sign says the future of the world is in this classroom. And each of their photos are labeled future teacher, future policeman, future president, future engineer. One wants to be a YouTuber. But I hold them accountable to those things. And it's so interesting because like today, the one that wants to be a pilot, sometimes I'm like, Lord, is this child going to be a pilot? But we've got to believe that he's going to be a pilot. And I've got to hold him accountable to the fact that if you want to become a pilot, you're going to have to work really, really, really hard. And if you're struggling now with pronouns and conjunctions, which you don't really want to worry about, it's the little things that you have to do now that you have to learn to apply yourself with now, which is going to help you later on in life.
That's beautiful. So that actually makes me wonder, how do you think then we can encourage our students to have a voice? You've given the example of, beautifully putting their names in the class and letting them know that they matter, letting them know that they are important and validating them, right? So what are other things maybe that we can do or just as, I guess it is for educators, but just for parents and for just human beings and adults in affirming children? How do we then kind of encourage them to have their own voice?
So I always try to encourage parents to just spend time with their kids. If their child enjoys watching soccer, watch soccer and have a conversation about soccer. Whatever it is that they like doing, just take part in doing that with them and create an environment for them to enjoy being with you, and that opens up conversations, and then parents are able to impart into their kids, because as parents we have to be professing over our kids. We have to be saying to them, you can do this. I believe you can do this. And often we meet parents and the parents will be saying every negative thing about the child. And it's almost as if you having a parent meeting and the parents discussing what's happening at home instead of you discussing what's happening at
class.
school.
Yeah.
So we see that so often, and I always say to them, just spend time with them.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your child is your child.
Yes.
And when they grow up, they're going to be the one that has to take care of you. So
Yeah, that's
mold
true.
them and shape them into the person that needs to take care of you when you're older.
I think for me is because I'm a homeroom teacher, so I teach them most of the subjects. So I see them like almost the whole day. So we always check in like on a Monday, like how was your weekend? So I encourage them to share, you know. Also, I like to create activities that actually enhance cooperative learning, like collaboration in their groups. And they are also share, and they, even when they do assessments, they assess each other's work. And I have taught them how to actually write a peer assessment, like in a constructive way. So always, and I'm always encouraging them, you know, to express themselves in a very respectful way. And then also, I tend to know my students, and I think that's something that Sev completely can relate with, because I hear when she talks about the students, she knows the students. So you can just see when a student is not okay. You immediately identify it, and I think I always like to take them one side and ask them if everything's okay, you know. And in terms of parents, so we always foster close relationships with our parents. So I'm always in close contact with them, sending them messages on our platform that we use, speaking, you know, even via the social worker if there's any issues. But we have got very supportive parents who are always willing to come in and chat to us, whether it's about positive behavior, progress, or even some students who have challenging behaviors. We haven't actually had severe challenging behaviors because I think our students are actually good. And I think I always say to them that I think you are good. And I always encourage students to, like, in the morning when you get up, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, you know, I'm smart today, I'm going to do my best. And we actually do these, like, I don't want to call it affirmations, because I just feel that the spoken word is so powerful. And so, yeah, that collaboration and that communication, open communication. And I always say to the students, if you have a problem, come to me, speak to me, you know. Or if you want to speak to your friend, speak to your friend, you know. So, yeah, that's what we have to just foster, that open communication.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think, is there any maybe last words of encouragement to students out there, educators and parents, that you'd like to share?
You know, one of the things Mom said to me, I think a few years ago, she said to me, she confesses over the kids, you are obedient. So that's one of the things that I've learned from Mom.
Wow,
you know,
that's
sometimes you in a moment where you're frustrated.
Yeah.
So I say, you are obedient. You know, it's the nicer thing to say.
Yeah.
So I would encourage teachers to always look at something that you can say that would be positive, something that would help them, instead of being negative and wanting to dwell on the mistakes that they make, because it's just mistakes and they are still learning. So even for students, you know, sometimes they can go through things, they can fail, and they can become so discouraged. But they can do it. Practice makes perfect. That's one of the comments I love to tell them. Practice makes perfect.
It's true, yeah.
And they can do it. They just have to keep trying and trying and trying again until they're able to understand it. And I think for parents, I just want to say also that just support your kids. You know, school can be such a challenging thing for kids, and especially around exam time. We see the pressure that parents put on the kids, and sometimes the kids are experiencing so much of anxiety during that time that they don't even know how to really even focus on the exams, just because of the pressure that they're receiving from home.
That's true.
So even for parents, just be more focused on the individual, be more focused on the child than the marks that they receive or the academic results, because at the end of the day, it's who they are that matters and not how well they are able to perform.
Yeah. That's powerful, yeah.
I think from my part for students, I would just say, do your best for you.
Yeah.
Don't think about the challenges or the expectations from your parents, but just focus on studying for yourself. For parents also, as well, just what Savana said, support your children.
Yeah.
Know what their skills are, know what they love to do. If they love reading, listen to them read. If they are good communicators, talk to them.
Yeah.
We are so caught up in social media. Children are sitting in front of the TV
Yeah,
games.
that's true.
Parents are on their phones. They are on their laptops. We do not have a culture where we sit and we communicate, And I think for other teachers, let's continue collaborating. Let's continue sharing best practices when it comes to what are some strategies and what are some techniques that we can implement in our classes to help. How did you do? How were you able to get that student, from maybe a D to a B?
Yeah.
Or how were you able to handle that difficult student? How were you able to handle that difficult parent, So I think just continuous collaboration and sharing best practices as well. And I think at the end of the day, for us as teachers as well, is know that we're only human. We need to take a break, At the end of the day, when school finishes, I'm fortunate and I'm so blessed to be in a school where on a Friday when we leave, our vice principal would say, switch off your phone, close your laptop, don't do schoolwork, Spend time with your family. You need to ensure that when you are away from school, your family takes preference, When you're back at school, you give it your all. So taking time out for yourself is very important as well.
Awesome. Just one more question, Sav. Do you still have time on your clock to maybe put our faces on?
I can add you guys. Now my students know you as of today. So you'll be familiar faces for them.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, thank you, ladies, for joining us, for sharing such insightful things in the world of education.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.